Ginny, welcome back.
Oh,
Another 45 minutes to an hour of us talking. I have been told by everybody, so warnings to the world. Mark, be more yourself, be more argumentative, don't give Ginny too easy a time, and ask the stupid questions. So apologies in advance. I'm going to state why I'm interested in this and why I think we should do this. And I'd want to hear, why are you investing your time? I'm doing it because I will be honest. I am tired of dealing with organizations that are wasting money. It's not about overly complex solutions. We want people to do different things, to stop doing the same thing. And as you've explained to me, it's a human problem, it's not a technology problem. And I want people to wake up and go, yeah, you know what? It is a human problem. Let's confront it. But that's why I want to do this. Why do you want to do this? Why do you care?
that's a very interesting thing. Why do I care? I care because being human matters. And I'm got over the years so fed up with the fact that business decide to do loads of things and forget that human beings and the human brain works in a specific way. Always has done, always will do. And then, you'll have a load of people sat there going, oh no, I'm going to turn off now. Um, just stop for a second, right? Because the human brain isn't complicated. How it works is really quite simple. But the challenge I would give you, if everything you've been doing up to now really worked, everything would work 100%, and it doesn't. Anything we do, we can get better at. But what we put at the seat of what we do is how this thing in here works with other brains, right? Because you're not in isolation. And the thing is, it's not hard, it's really simple. Um, and once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. So stay, come and have a look at why being human actually matters when you want to do adoption and change. And it's not a theory, it's been hanging around for millions of years and you're living it because you're human.
Okay. So we believe it. We're passionate about it. And it's been proven in the stats of previous webinars, whatever you want to call these things. People turn up. Thank you for those of you who turned up, or thank you for those of you who've clicked on the recording. And then, Ginny, in about 30 seconds, some of them will start leaving because they'll go, do I
Yeah,
care?
that's your brain. So
Why?
why? Because your brain's predictive. I keep reminding people this. Your brain isn't logical. It has a load of predictive models. Is you're going to have clicked on here because you're going to have thought, oh, that sounds interesting, right? You're going to click on here, and already your brain will be going, how much use is it? Is it useful? Am I going to have to spend time, energy, and effort to change what I'm already doing today? I'll say that again. To change what I'm already doing today. Because if your brain is immediately thinking, oh, this might be new, it might be different, I might have to change and invest. And immediately your brain goes, I haven't got time to do that. And your brain's like every other brain that is sitting there looking at what you're trying to get them to adopt. Its first reaction is, yeah, I haven't got time. There's something more important to do. I can't be bothered. I don't want to listen because if I listen, I might have to invest. And that's what happens. And that's what's happening to your brain right here, right now. And if you click off, your brain won and you didn't. And that's why your adoption change management processes don't work.
Okay. So, as I'm listening to you saying it, the reality is we all joke about Einstein's definition of insanity, but what he was defining was our protection mechanism, which is, well, I really believe if I do the same thing the same way, I'm going to get better results because I'll just get better at it. So I don't
Totally.
need to change.
Now, this is actually a predictive thing in the brain. It's called sunk cost fallacy. If I just try harder at the thing I've already invested in, it'll pay off. And it's actually a program in your head which is stopping you moving forward. We've seen businesses do it. People have said that's your brain right at the moment using sunk cost fallacy. I've invested in this, so if I invest a little bit more or I spend more time, it'll work. If the foundations of why that thing isn't working don't change, it's never going to work.
And that's great. And that will lead us into the case study we're going to look at. But also, just from my experience, even recent experience, where I'm talking to L&D groups who are going, we've got this course, we think it's about there, but it's not having the impact that we want. Can you improve it? Can you turn it from a 3-day to a 2-day? Can you put more video in? Can we have more practice? And what they're doing is your sunk cost fallacy. I've already built it. So rather than go, there's a really good reason why it didn't work, they go, well, we'll just tweak the edges. And if we tweak the edges, then it'll be better. So that's really interesting. So taking your sunk cost fallacy, and let's look at our example. So thank you for people who've sent in examples of challenges they've had. But this is real. This is real life. This is something that we're all seeing. So we heard from someone from an IT services company, um, and they've just changed their CRM. We've seen it all the time. You know, Salesforce was good, but hey, Dynamics is better. So we'll go and throw away the Salesforce because that wasn't giving us the returns we wanted. And we're now going to go and use Dynamics because, hey, it's newer, it's shinier. And we can build a great business case because, as everybody's promised me, my new version of my CRM will give me even greater visibility of what's going on. So I can really understand the pipeline. It'll drive collaboration because, hey, it's got AI at the core. So that's going to make a real big difference. And as a result, we're going to win more business. That's what they told us. That's what was promised. And this company said, look, we followed best practice. Okay. We did our why, we did our what, and we did our how, but we were better than that. We actually engaged with the users before we made the decision about changing. And we asked them for what features they wanted in there, the features that were the gaps that were stopping them using the CRM at the moment. And we've added those features. And we've communicated the benefits to them. I've told them what they're going to get from using this CRM. They're going to save time. They're going to be more visible. They're going to be more collaborative. And I've trained them. It's perfect. And then 90 days after full rollout, nothing's changed. I've got the same that I always had, just a different user interface. Ginny, why? What could they have done differently?
Oh, crumbs, this is really interesting. So, and we went back to this person, so we understand a little bit more about what happened. So number one, there used to be a system, and that wasn't used. So number two, they put in a new system, it still isn't being used. And what is underneath here is how people behave unconsciously. Very much like your sunk cost fallacy. Your brain has a sunk cost fallacy. I don't want to change. I don't want to spend any time. And all of the other change theories out there basically say, if I tell someone why it's good for them, they'll change. They'll do it. The thing is, what that doesn't look at is the behavior of why they're doing what they're doing today. Okay. It doesn't say, well, why just changing a tool or giving someone a new car means they're going to drive it? Why aren't they driving the car they've already got? That's the behavior. So if you look at why that behavior actually happens, then you can go, okay, I can see why people aren't using this. Now, what's fascinating in this example is that putting information into this new CRM system meant basically a salesperson moving all of their data and information, which they kept on their own laptops, and put it properly into the CRM, all of their contacts, when they spoke to them, how they were speaking to them. So technically, all information that was theirs now suddenly became everyone else's. But there was another feature, which was you had to say what someone saw value in and why they were buying it. Now, underneath all of this, that organization only paid those salespeople when they sold as individuals. Okay, commission, standard commission. You do really well. So the salesperson's thinking here, if I put everything I know about why my customer buys something in there, why do you need me? Right? Why do you need me? Why, what's my value to you? Because you've technically told me if I don't sell, I don't have value. But if I tell you why I've done it really well, which is in CRM, you're not going to need me. So the CRM for the organization is better data, you know the whole thing. But actually what you said to the salesperson is if you put that in here, hey, you've got to spend time you don't usually do. My brain's already going, I've got to spend time, I don't want to spend time. Then you're telling them, I've got to give away my personal advantage to you, which I use to earn me money. The thing is, none of them are going to tell you that, okay? Because it happens unconsciously in the brain. The brain goes, should I do this? What's my sunk cost fallacy against doing this? Yes or no? So it's not the system, it's the behavior of the people and how the environment they're in makes them stay within that behavior. So it doesn't matter how many times they change the CRM, they'll still get the same outcome.
So just want to stop you there. So all of that effort that they put into improving the technology, because one of the common beliefs of old CRMs failed because the user interface was too complicated. So if I reduce the number of clicks, or I get it to use some weird and wonderful bit of AI to go and listen to a conversation and put everything in there, that's going to miraculously change everything. You're saying, well, it's got nothing to do with that. It's about the person, and will I actually use it? Even if the data's in there, will I use it?
Absolutely. Because if using something means I reduce my value to you as an organization, as a group, you're not going to want me. Your brain has a really ancient, older than sunk cost fallacy, little program in it, which basically says, if I haven't got value to my group, I'm going to get thrown out, right? You're not going to need me if I can't show you have value. And here in this situation, the salesperson's only value is what they know about their customer and why they know they buy. So they're not going to tell you.
But sorry to interrupt. Isn't there value um, seen in the league, the ranking table of how much I've sold? So you know, I compete against you when it comes to President's Club. Am I going to sell more than Ginny? Because if I sell more than Ginny, I get to go to President's Club as opposed to you going to President's Club, Ginny. So that's where my value is. It's not in the data, it's that I sell. So shouldn't I feel confident?
Let's unpack that slightly. So there's two things going on here. One, how I pay someone is how well they perform. But if that performance depending on knowledge, then why should I share my knowledge? Right? Why should I tell you what I do? Because in that CRM, I've got to put all my everything I know about how my sales territory works, how my customers buy. So you as a company can do analysis. You can also go, okay, well, if Mark's doing really well over here and this method worked, let's tell. There's the important point. Let's share that with Ginny. So
Okay.
you've just lost competitive advantage versus me in a system that tells you we'll pay you more if you're top.
Yeah.
So if you share two things, not number one, you don't have value to the group because your knowledge is now shared to everyone. Two, you've shared how you've sold, so therefore anyone can do it. So you're going to earn less money than someone else potentially. And these are the things the brain actually analyzes before it starts to let you actually even engage with something. And the key thing here wasn't the fact. So the old CRM didn't have any data in it. The new CRM isn't going to have any data in it because the behaviors underlying why someone engages with that system and why they would share have been destroyed, right? You're not tackling the behavior. You've basically said to someone, we don't value you. Why would turn
Okay.
for Christmas?
So that then explains why, as a business, we wanted visibility of what the pipeline was looking like. Well, actually, what we only ever find out is deals that are coming in, definitely, because within the system, if you want to get an invoice out, at some point you've got to put the data in the CRM, but you put it in as late as possible. So you're not sharing real visibility, but you're using the system because, hey, at the end of the day, go back to I need to be paid. If I don't actually put the opportunity in there, then an order can't be raised, but I'll do it as late as possible. So I'm not sharing anything really. I, I'm just putting I know I'm going to win this opportunity.
Right, and that's deals and pipeline. It's not intelligence. So many of these modern systems want you to actually put account intelligence in. They want you to tell you who's in the account and who do you know. And I don't know any salesperson who puts in everyone they know. Right?
Because that's knowledge is power. So I don't want you to
It's
know all
that.
the people I know.
Yeah. Now that's interesting because if they're sitting within a system, because this is how those behaviors then layer up. If you're sitting within a system which tells you you're brilliant because you don't share and you come top, right? And that now you're asking them to share and they're going no. But then you have to sort of stand back and go, okay, what else is underlying that? The thing is, we have told everyone in the Western world for a very, 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 very long time since you're at school that you're not, you are the sum of what you know. Even as a society, we only value people for what they know because you do an exam, right? When you do an exam, you do it by yourself. You don't let anyone copy, and we give you a mark, right? So you are now, not only does my organization tell me it does that, in my head, I have a program which says, my society only values me for what I know, right? So just telling someone, put everything in CRM and we'll all do better together, which is actually then they get their brains going, that's a complete lie. You never sat an exam with anyone else. You only sat it by yourself.
Okay. So can I just, because we go back to what they were trying to do. So we said visibility is a challenge because I don't want to share, but you're also saying collaboration is a challenge because unless you change how people value collaboration, I'm actually encouraged never to collaborate. I build up in a society or in an organization that actually rewards me for not collaborating. Why would I help you sell something? Because there's nothing in it for me, being cold-hearted.
Actually,
So pragmatically, what we were already saying is if anybody out there with their CRM, if they go and look at their commission structure, and you literally say, guys, you are paid for what you do, isn't it? No one will collaborate. If you want collaboration, telling them to collaborate is not the answer. Change the system.
yes, because
Pay
then
us as a group.
exactly. Or when I've done it and I've driven CRM, I've also been a sales director. It's like, you split it 50-50. I mean, to be fair, you'll get a whole load of people who then complain, but PQ and R don't work very hard. Don't care. We survive as a group, not as individuals. Okay. So
Okay. So we're now, so how do you identify in a diagnostic or what the state of the system is? So, we're making sweeping generalizations here, you know, and as you said, you actually were able to speak to the person and understand a bit more. But how would you diagnose the state of the system? Because there will be some organizations and there are some cultures that do naturally collaborate in pockets. So how can you look at an organization and say, I can actually tell you what the state of your collaborative mindset is, the knowledge is power mindset, but also start to understand what the role models are that you're actually propagating. So when you're saying Mark is your best salesperson and telling everybody that, but Mark's actually an egotist, only cares about himself and just wants everyone to look like him, that isn't necessarily the best role model, I'm assuming. So how do you diagnose this? What do you do?
it's dead easy. You just take, when I say dead easy, it's a bit like, if we had a big MRI or X-ray, we just put you through. We look at a number of data sets. I mean, the one about sharing is really obvious, right? It affects everyone. Okay, 99% of people on this call will have come through an exam system, right? So they will have an idea that knowledge is only power to me. Okay, so
Mhm.
it that one affects everyone. So when you're looking at collaboration, if you don't start to change that, then you will never get true collaboration. So it doesn't matter what a Microsoft say when they look M365 or Google or what any of these things say. People won't share unless they see a value in sharing. Okay, so much of the data you already have when all you need to look at is the demographics of who you've got, what you're asking them to do, and therefore what will their behavior be underneath that. Probably takes about a couple of hours. They say data, we can show them, you can start to look at it. That's when I said when it's not hard because you can just see. I did one last week for someone when they said we're trying to get someone to our whole organization won't adopt a certain new way of doing things, and actually the way they'd sold it to them is that it's going to save you time, it's going to make you quicker at what you do, and it's going to make us look good as an organization. Technically what they done because it was taking a set of expertise away from people is told them they didn't need them, right? We don't need you in our new system. So right up front, you can really, really easily see what are the behaviors underneath that have to change for this to work? For a CRM system, the key thing is it is knowledge sharing, right? Do you have a culture of knowledge sharing? Yes or no in your organization? Do you give people money for sharing? Do you support them for sharing? Do you make them feel good about sharing? So there's that one. The other one is, where is what's called the locus of control for competition? So if you and I work for the same organization, well, you're my competition, right? Because I'm paid more if I sell more than you. Or if I'm an accountancy firm, I am paid more than my other partner if I sell more and we do more. So by accident, you've made the locus of control for competition internal. So we look at that. You've also built on the fact that I get paid more than you. So why should I ever share anything with you? They're very simple things to look at. And the population, as in all of the people you've got doing it, will you can look at their age, where they are, where they're educated, how these programs have been set up in their head.
Okay, so to simplify it for me, what you're
Yeah,
basically saying is, look, we can understand the people based on, well, data that exists, also how the organization is constructed. If we go to, I think some books to change management, when we communicate the why, the first problem that this client had, where their why was visibility, collaboration, win more business, that was why for the business, that wasn't why for the individual. So you were going to fail anyway, because the message that was going out wasn't going to sit,
yeah.
wasn't going to encourage them to do it. Therefore, we've lost before we've begun, because the why is irrelevant.
But then people go down then, oh, well, the why has to be individual. But if you don't understand why that person's behaving the way they do within the system, so it's a bit like, what are you really asking someone to do when they use this tool, or they do this process, or they do any of it, right? In a CRM, it's share. So, what is the value? If I'm sitting there looking at the CRM, what is the value of me sharing anything? Are you going to make me feel better? Are you going to pay me more? Are you going to do? No. Why should I? But
Okay.
it's never
So,
conscious. I'm just going to point this out.
yeah, yeah,
Nobody
absolutely.
will ever be able to tell you that's why they do it, because your brain has this process where it looks at its predictive models, right? Predictive models is, I'm paid for being top dog. I'm paid for not sharing. I'm paid for outperforming anyone else. That's its prediction model. This comes in and goes, well, you should be doing this. Oh, I'm not even going to look at it. So they'll tell you it's the technology. They'll tell you it's the features. It's not. Understanding why people choose what they choose and why they would do something is all based on, is it good for me and will my brain let me do it? It's not hard to understand why someone's brain's stopping them. But like right at the beginning, sunk cost fallacy. I've spent $5 million on this. 100 grand is going to make it work. No, because you don't understand why someone is using that. The other thing again is, all of what we're talking about is how your brain's wired, right? All of the change stuff you've just talked about didn't look at any of the wiring in the brain.
Yeah.
It just assumed it was an input output box. If I give you this, you'll behave like that.
Yeah.
You yourself sat there, no, everyone knows your brain doesn't logically make a decision like that.
And you touched on this when we spoke before about understanding who are the best transmitters, who are the people that give you the greatest chance of actually acting as not role models, but the people who encourage everybody to go and do this, those people that control, etc. So, are we focusing on the wrong people?
Human beings have a way of doing change. We've discussed this, right? We work as a network with other brains. Um, Most of the time, the person who's top is not the person who wants to encourage anyone else, right?
Right. Yeah.
And just because they're successful doesn't mean I'm going to be successful. Okay. It just says, well, person at the top. Usually what it acts at actually is a dissuading mechanism because the person who was top was probably top before they started using CRM anyway. So I know it didn't make any difference to them, right? Has it made any difference to someone like me? Right? Let's say I'm a mid performer. Um, I'm okay. Has it made a difference to someone who looks like me, who works in my world, who doesn't have access to the best accounts, who's been told that, you know, they're not on a pip, but they could be if they get any worse? Okay. So you do not motivate people to people's brains, remember, to spend the time doing it if you give them someone who doesn't look at all like them. It's a bit like you going off down the gym and it's all full of gym bros who've been there for 20 years, all buff, right? And you're not. You'll not go back because there's no one there who looked like you, right? There was
Yeah.
no one there who behaved like you. There's no one there who you felt looked like you, okay? Because your brain will go, I'm not part of that group, so that doesn't matter for me. I'm part of the people who look like me. And this is why you will get pockets. Right? Because there'll be a load of people who perhaps are a bit mediocre, but have a great sales manager who loves them to pieces and works individually with them. Can get cultures who share stuff better. Scandinavians share a lot better than practically any other nation. Okay. Um,
Mhm.
but using a top performer usually puts people off. It's a bit like people going, oh, we'll find coaches, right? What you should find is the person who cares that other people do it.
Right. So what you're telling me is all those interviews and videos that I've had created over the years of people at President's Club explaining how they used the system and why it made them successful was a complete and utter waste of time.
Yeah.
No, no, that's fine because it made no difference. You
Well,
know,
yes. See, it
but
won't because it's not those people who matter, right? You also, yeah, it's just that's the way it is. And the thing is, this is what really gets me is you've been doing it and you know it didn't make a difference. So why are you still doing it? Sunk cost fallacy? Is it easier if I just do what I've always done?
oh no, 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 it's because I gave up arguing with the client. Yeah,
Yeah, but
but taking everything you're saying, it's exactly the same. And again, we'll come back to the CRM because I want to talk about how we can take this and the sort of advice we give them to where they need to start. But what you're describing again is why, in my humble opinion, really sorry guys, sales kickoffs, training events at sales kickoffs, complete and utter waste of time. Give everybody money and let them go and buy beer, because they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to do anything differently. So, Ginny, if we want to get the people in the right place, in your conversations with this company, what
yeah.
should they have done differently? What must they do differently to go and get everything in the right place?
The easiest way to solve all of this has got nothing to do with technology. We've got to shift how they see their own value, how the company values them, but also how it is helping us win as an organization. So those three things. So the first one is we got them to change how they were going to pay people. Okay. So instead of just paying me, you paid us. It was a little bit or what, but they've agreed to do it in because as soon as you do that, you make someone think, oh, it's not just about me, it's about everyone. Right. Secondly, what we did is start to publish back in, or I recommended they started to publish back in not deals that were won, but deals which were moving faster through the pipeline because they were using CRM and they could access and they could get help and they could get support across the whole thing. Because this is really interesting. It's not the result, it was doing it that mattered. Does that make sense? It's not that I got
Yeah,
ideal.
yeah, yeah.
When you're not already there, it's how fast. So, and it was, we were publishing back into the teams that were doing this that, look, these deals are moving quicker because, I'm Mrs. Mediocre and I got support not only from the top guy, but also from an enterprise architect and also for this bit. So I could pull them in quicker and we moved this deal through quicker. So you don't measure the CRM for what it does. You measure for how it is effecting the deal movement, right? because how that deal was moving was really important. So we published it. Literally, you couldn't go onto CRM without a little pop-up box coming up going, "Hi," and we named people. X found it moved this deal faster. Go talk to them. Right? P found this happened. We've now sold this. So it wasn't it's actually the process of using it, because once you get people into the system using it, it's easy. So we paid them. We told them during what it was doing was better for them, and they had the immediate feedback data. And that kept on coming on. Every time they logged on, they could see who was using it and how much better it was making them. Thirdly, we did something really important, which we was moved the competition from me and you to them. So we also immediately logged on CRM, started to say who we'd beaten that day, that week, or that hour, right? We've just sold over, I'm trying to think of something that it wasn't. Let's say HPE, it wasn't them. We've just built Microsoft, because what you're actually seeing then every time you log on is I'm being paid for doing this. I'm seeing that it's actually having an effect for people who look like me. And thirdly, our competition isn't you and me, it's the people we're beating. And that consistent pulling that up and doing that starts to shift how that person is feeling about themselves and giving data and sharing.
Okay. Hearing what you said, though, could I just do that and not bother by doing a diagnosis in the first place? So, are you just saying to me, actually, Mark, when it comes to a CRM or any system, make sure we're talking sales here, make sure we pay people as a group, not just as individuals, make sure that we don't use weird role models that bear no resemblance to us mere mortals, and I want to hear from my peers, not those people doing strange things. And we've got to go and change the focus from league tables, me against you, to our organization against the competition.
It's a little bit more to it than that, obviously. What I'm doing is telling them in an hour what I recommended they go and look at. Okay.
Right.
Um, because it depends. There's a lot more nuance to it. But underneath, what you're doing is shifting how someone felt about something and how it affects their behavior. And that's the consistent thing you are moving through. The three things I've given you will help you, but you don't know how long to do it for. You don't know where it needs to be in the system to get the right attitude out. You don't know how to move it and lock it in for long-term use, because we've not talked about this, okay? Because at the moment it's being used, right? If you took those things away, it'll stop being used. So
Right. Okay.
how do you make it come long-term behavior? People, us as an organization, this is what we do. We always put it into CRM. We do it every time. So it's like comes to be part of the sales culture. Which again, if you look back at anything you've ever been taught, it's never been locked in. And the fourth one is when they're under real stress, are they going to do it or not? Which is something we haven't touched on here, right?
No.
Okay. So we've given you the bit of this is why it matters. This is what you should do. And here's some easy ways of looking at it. To actually get long term behavior change, you've got to affect the neurons. You've got to change how they think. You've got to be able to make sure that gets locked in over time. But those three things, they'll have some effect for you.
Okay. But what I'm hearing, and look, at the end of the day, to the audience that we're talking to,
Mhm.
hey, I'm not going to hide, guys. We want to sell you something, but not because we want your money, because we want to make a difference. But for those people who are listening who come from, say, an L&D world, we had the dreaded training needs analysis concept, which before we designed a training course, let's go and find out what people needed. Um, I'm a cynic, and most of them were self-fulfilling prophecies because they were designed to go and say, "Well, I've got this course, you need this course," as opposed to actually finding out what people really needed. But what we're really saying here is, look, guys, before you go stumbling into introducing a new technology, a new system that is going to require people to do something different, something they haven't done before, you've got to know where you're starting from, and you've got to have clarity as to where you're going to with the people. It's
Those
not about having the right features. That's irrelevant.
It's the sunk cost of their existing behavior. You've got to get them to change, exactly like we said at the top of the hour, which was people are going to drop off here and probably will have done because their brains have told them this is new, it might work. I don't want to spend the time doing something new because I've already invested over here. Your brain's invested in its predictive models. To do that, you have to literally make it rewire new ones. Full stop.
Right. Okay. So, so we're saying to everybody, do this diagnostic first before you
Yeah.
do anything else. Understand where you are, because you've got a better chance then of being successful than those promises you've made to the business and your inbuilt business case that you came up with that ignored the people in all likelihood.
Completely. The other thing is if you've got something in that's in flight and you suddenly thought, nah, fucker, could have done it better.
Yeah.
Can always influence stuff in flight or even things that have been in for a while and still not used. Get out of sunk cost fallacy in your own head, right? And technically it is tweaking it, but it's understanding what you're tweaking and why you're tweaking it. Okay. How someone uses something matters. How they think about themselves while they use it matters. A CRM is about knowledge, giving away knowledge. Why would anyone give away the thing which keeps them safe?
Okay. And no amount of training is going to go and change that.
It's well, training. You haven't. I'm still frightened, so I can use it. I'm still frightened that you won't need me if I use it. Why would training change? Sorry, but why the hell would training change that? Just because I can,
Because I'm
isn't it like, I don't know. Um, I went from skiing to snowboarding, right? I'm a damn good skier. And then at 40, I decided to become a snowboarder. I looked at that snowboard one day and felt sick. It doesn't matter. And I am not as comfortable using it as I am skied. No amount of training's made a difference for the fact I've learned to ski first. So therefore, I still feel more comfortable on skis than the snowboard.
right. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, there's no, if you got two bits of stick or wood rather than one, I can see the logic in that. Clearly, I don't ski or snowboard. Um, my relationship with mountains was climbing to the top
Yeah, still good.
without the use of a ski lift. You know.
Excellent.
So if we were to sum up where we are in this conversation, we said, you know, sales behavior change isn't a change management problem. We've said that because too often change management is looking at the implementation of systems, not necessarily people. So there is a people problem that you've got to address. But before you can address it, you have to understand where you are.
Totally. Well, it's like doing anything. You don't go and build a house without doing a survey, right, of the land it's standing on.
Yeah.
How do you know what house to build? Okay. How do you know that it's not going to flood? And even while you're building it, you have to get buildings inspectors in to make sure it ain't going to kill anyone, right? So doing that bit up front takes very little time in the grand scheme of what you are doing, but it will make sure your house doesn't fall over.
Right. And in our case, it's not just whether the house will fall over, it used, grow, and become families in there.
Totally.
But, you
It's
know,
always, we need to know how someone views themselves when they are doing it. Now, to be fair, right, in their marketing department, all organizations are probably doing this or looking at it in some respect, right? So when we're asking someone to change and invest, we have to understand what is going to make them spend time to do that. Knowing how they think about themselves before they enter it will go, that's how they're going to spend time because this is how they think about themselves.
so and that's really interesting because we're talking about selling, but you're talking about selling. And we're doing what I preach when I go and run, sales transformation events, which is sell with a buyer's perspective. Here we're saying change with the employee's perspective. It's That's what's key here, but also not just as an individual, as a grouping.
Yes, and that's the key thing about humans. You must understand humans don't change by themselves, they change as groups, which is why that poor little salesperson who's little miss or mister or they're mediocre, like the gym. If it's full of gym bros, I can't see myself there. I'm not going back. Right? It's got to make sense to me because I need to be in a group who look like me.
Right.
Then it makes
Okay.
sense to me.
Right. Cool. So the call to action to everybody out here from me is Ginny and I want to help you. So whether or not you're looking at a new system or you've got an existing system, as Ginny said, but you are not getting the results, we can come in and do a quick diagnosis. Once you've seen the results, you'll have that light bulb moment and go, you may well go, you know what, I always thought it was that, but
Well,
you're giving me the data.
most people do. They go, yeah, I knew it was that, but I couldn't prove it, or my CFO doesn't like that. We can give you hard data, which they do. Or you can come back to us, ask us for case studies. We've got some now. You can take them away and look at them and go, okay, I can see how that works. Right. The thing is, you can do this. You've got to get over your own brain telling you, I've spent so long doing it this way. I don't have to do it another way. That's exactly how your people are behaving.
And the good news, the initial change, and you've said, look, we've got to also think about how we make this embedded and ongoing. That's what we'll look at next, which is, okay, I've started, but my journey is not one step, it's many steps. And we'll go and look at the other steps.
Of course, can. Great fun.
Cool. So I look forward to hearing from everybody. Um, and please, we want to help. I want to help. Ginny wants to help. I personally would apologize in advance because I will ask you uncomfortable questions, but it's there for a good reason, which is all I want to do is make a difference. And again, I'm going to say to everybody, Ginny's heard me say this, 100 times. You know, I cannot stand doing a piece of work just for the money. I don't get it. I don't understand why anybody would go, I know it won't work, but if you're prepared to give me thousands, I'll do it. I won't do it. So we're literally putting ourselves out on a limb here, saying that we're doing this because it will make a difference. If some of you want to go and challenge us and say, hey, can we do this as a risk reward? Of course we can. Please remember, though, good risk reward means you'll pay me 3 times or pay us 3 or 4 times the amount you would have done if you did it for a fixed price. But we believe that we will make a difference. So take us up on the offer. Um, but please don't just and have Einstein going, I told you, you're doing the same thing. It ain't going to change. And no amount of telling everybody it will change it. You have to do something different. So, Jenny, again, thank you. I hope I've been more like me um, and not quiet. Um, and hopefully this has all worked because every so often I think I'm hanging for Ginny, and I know every so often Ginny's hanging for me, which is why if you think that we're going, did I say something? That's because technology occasionally got the better of us. But I have faith that this will all come together. And to the people who edit it, it'll look seamless and no one will ever know. So thank you for your time, Jenny. I will speak to you soon. And everybody have a good day. And I will now end this webinar. And thank you very much.